Imagine a map of the world in the 1940s. Right in the geographical center of Asia, sandwiched between Soviet Siberia and Mongolia, lies a mysterious spot the size of Great Britain. For 20 years, an independent nation of nomads, with its own currency and army, existed on world maps. A nation that the Soviet Union quietly erased from history. This is Tannu Tuva, a country whose soldiers on the fronts of World War II were called Black Death by their enemies. And today only avid philatelists remember its independent past. But what if history had taken a different path? August 1921. In the village of Sukbaji, a congress of Tuvan Noyons proclaims the creation of the independent People's Republic of Tannu Tuva. Nomads who had paid tribute to Manchu emperors for centuries gained sovereignty. Soon, new rhythms begin to sound in the capital, hastily renamed Kyzyl. Tuvans mint their own coin, the aksha, create an alphabet, and form their famous cavalry regiments. Real history is ruthless. In October 44, the ambitious General Secretary of the Tuvan Party, Salchak Toka, writes a petition to the Kremlin asking for the republic to be accepted into the USSR. The unique republic of shamans and herders is transformed overnight into an ordinary autonomous region. An entire distinctive country disappears from the maps of the world. But let's stop the clock on October 10th, 1944. At the Kuntsevo dacha, Joseph Stalin lights his pipe, gloomily looking at intelligence reports from Xinjiang. Lavrenti Beria places a memo on the desk. The influence of Mao Zedong's Chinese communists is growing at an alarming rate. Stalin urgently needs a reliable geopolitical safety fuse. Instead of absorbing Tuva, the leader makes a pragmatic decision. Like Mongolia, Tannu Tuva will remain a formally independent buffer state. Salchak Toka receives a polite but firm refusal from Moscow. Thus begins a completely different era. After the war ends, sovereign Tuva triumphantly joins the UN. The yellow-blue-red flag with a white rider is raised in New York. The 1950s pass under the sign of a quiet Cold War on the borders. Tuva masterfully maneuvers between the Khrushchev bloc and Maoist China, strengthening border outposts along the Tannu-Ola Ridge. In the 1970s, geologists from the Leningrad VSEGEI Institute make a stunning discovery in the Tuvan steppes. The Uluk-Kem coal basin turns out to be just the tip of the iceberg. Under the roots of the centuries-old larches of the academic Obruchev Range, giant, untouched deposits of uranium and rare elements are discovered. Neodymium, praseodymium, and lithium, the raw materials for the future digital age. Independent Tuva approaches the beginning of the 1990s with the colossal economic trump card up its sleeve. The collapse of the USSR does not crash their economy, but throws the doors open to global capital. Japanese corporations and South Korean chaebols line up at the government offices in Kyzyl. Cabinet wars between London bankers begin for the right to mine Tuvan lithium. Look at the panorama of an alternative Kyzyl in 2026. This is no longer a dusty provincial town, but an Asian Kuwait, sparkling with glass on the banks of the Yenisei. Skyscrapers of Asian corporate headquarters stand alongside a grandiose presidential palace, shaped like a giant glass yurt. A monument cast in pure palladium rises in the center. The Tuvan Tugrik today is one of the most unshakable currencies in the East, strictly backed by rare earth metals. Kyzyl's sovereign wealth fund buys up startups in Silicon Valley. But fantastic wealth has not erased ancient traditions. It has spawned a unique phenomenon: nomadic cyberpunk. As soon as you drive outside the metropolis, reality changes. Imagine a modern Tuvan arat. He lives in a mobile yurt, assembled from ultralight carbon nanotubes, complete with solar panels and satellite broadband internet. Instead of traditional horses, shepherds have saddled silent, levitating ATVs, and control over flocks of thousands is carried out using intelligent swarms of autonomous drones. Sitting by a hearth, burning biodegradable fuel, the nomad checks quotes on the London Metal Exchange through a holographic interface and programs the route of automated feeders. The political system of this Tuva boggles the mind even more. Formally, it is a classic parliamentary republic. The Great Corral meets in a tinted glass building on Subaday Avenue. But behind the flawless facade of democratic institutions hides ancient mysticism. In the constitution of the sovereign country, the status of the Supreme Shaman of Tannu Tuva is officially enshrined in a separate chapter. This person, whose closed residence is located in the sacred mountain cave of taiga, is endowed with the unprecedented right of an absolute veto over any subsoil use law. Not a single contract with China's Tianqi lithium or Russia's Rosatom will come into force without a nighttime Kamlani ritual. If the spirits of the ancestors say no, $1 billion deal is cancelled. Wall Street analysts tear their hair out, unsuccessfully trying to incorporate lunar phases, snow leopard migrations, and tambourine sounds into their mathematical forecasting models. Kyzyl's foreign policy is a filigree tightrope walk. The country is squeezed in the vice of two superpowers, and its survival depends on the art of playing Moscow and Beijing against each other. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Arat Square, diplomats masterfully play investment cards in front of the Chinese and remind the Russians about strategic control over the upper reaches of the Yenisei. When Beijing offers to punch a high-speed railway line through to Urumqi, Kyzyl immediately invites engineers from Moscow to design a spaceport in Mongun Taiga. This geopolitical game pays fantastic dividends. Neighbors are forced to pay colossal transit duties and guarantee the absolute military inviolability of the tiny state. Tuva's armed forces are compact but deadly. They are equipped with the latest Israeli air defense systems, South Korean electronics, and their own secret developments. The famous Tuvan cavalry regiment has evolved into an elite mountain special forces unit wearing combat exoskeletons, capable of fighting at extreme altitudes in sub-zero temperatures. National culture in this alternative reality is experiencing an incredible renaissance. Kume throat singing has become a global musical trend in the top charts. In the underground clubs of Tokyo and Berlin, trendy DJs mix authentic shamanic rhythms with heavy synthesizer bass, gathering raves of thousands. The annual Nadim Festival in Kyzyl attracts crowds of tourists. Kuresh wrestlers enter the arena of a high-tech stadium, and the champion receives a block of shares in a uranium corporation. But behind this dazzling facade of prosperity lie deep cracks. Society is split in half. On one side are Oxford and Stanford graduates managing financial flows. On the other are radical traditionalists from among the Arats, demanding an immediate ban on the extraction of any metals. They sincerely believe that drilling rigs disturb underground dragons. An acute political crisis recently erupted. A transnational corporation requested an exclusive license to mine lithium at the foot of the sacred Kyzyl mountain. Parliament voted yes, tempted by trillion-dollar investments. But the Supreme Shaman fell into a trance for 3 days, after which he publicly imposed his sacred veto. Students with holographic banners took to the streets of Kyzyl, demanding to limit the power of the mystics. At the same time, nomads paralyzed logistics by blocking highways with herds of drones. The Prime Minister, a man with a degree in economics and a Gengisid pedigree, didn't leave his office for days, trying to find a compromise between the spirits of nature and the battery market. The solution turned out to be paradoxical. The plant will be built deep underground, and its buildings will be covered with innovative sound absorption, so that the vibrations of the machines do not disturb the sleep of local deities. It is precisely such surreal compromises that make alternative Tuva the most intriguing point on the world map, a country that stepped from feudalism straight into the high-tech era. Here, silicon chips have not destroyed antiquity, but merged with it in an inseparable symbiosis. Smart contracts on the national blockchain are still secretly sealed with the blood of a sacrificial ram. The Asian Kuwait has not turned into a lifeless concrete jungle. Fierce environmental laws have preserved the crystal clarity of the taiga rivers and the pristine nature of the Upsuna Hollow. Local dollar billionaires easily buy penthouses in Dubai, but stubbornly prefer to spend their summers in ancestral yurts without air conditioning, inhaling the bitter smell of wormwood. Tuvan cinema regularly draws ovations at the Cannes Film Festival. Their neo-noir thrillers, where detectives search for hijacked cyber-yaks in the snowy tundra, break viewing records. While the rest of the world suffocates in the grip of standardized globalization, sovereign Tannu Tuva has proven the impossible. You can become an economic giant without selling your soul. Kyzyl has become a unique bridge of civilizations, a neutral territory where CIA agents, the Russian FSB, and the Chinese Ministry of State Security can peacefully cross paths over a bowl of salty tea. And all of this is the result of a single, unsigned document. One pragmatic decision by the Soviet leader in the autumn of 1944, which forever changed the course of Asian history. The next time you look at the political map of Asia, look closely at the bend in the border between Russia and Mongolia. Imagine there a neon-pulsating spot of independent Tuva, a microstate forgotten in our harsh reality, which, in another branch of time, became the most successful geopolitical startup of the century, and a true nomadic cyberpunk.